investing in property makes sense. Investing in the right property takes knowledge. Welcome to the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. I'm Jarrod McCabe, Director of Brighton Property Advisory. Join me for expert insights into the fundamentals, trends and opportunities to help you create long-term wealth through smart property decisions. Hi everyone and welcome to episode 49 of the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. So there's been quite a bit of talk in recent times throughout the media about the prestige market in Melbourne, and certainly how has it been impacted by interest rate movements and the downturn that the market's seen over the past 12 months compared to the majority of the Melbourne market. So I thought it might be a good idea today to speak with someone who is right in amongst that sector of the market 24/7. So I'm joined by Joel Fredman. Joel's the founder and director of Fredman Property Group. He's got a long-standing family history in property going right back to his roots in the UK. Joel's based predominantly in Melbourne's prestige Bayside suburbs of Brighton, Hampton and Sandringham. And I thought he'd be a great place to start to give us some insights into how the prestige market in Melbourne is travelling at the moment. So welcome, Joel. Thanks very much for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Jarrod. Thanks for having me.
No problems at all. So I guess to give the listeners a bit of background, what got you into the real estate industry? Not all that long ago, relatively speaking.
Yeah. So I suppose there was always a bit of a natural progression, sort of having grown up in the UK, and Dad had a property business over there for a number of years.
Okay.
Mum was really into her design and architecture, and we loved checking out properties in the countryside, in the city, or whatever it was. And even when we moved over here in 2006, it was, again, just a bit of an obsession. We used to watch all the shows. Property Ladder was a classic in the UK, and then Selling Houses, and always just had a love of the showcase of fixtures and finishes, and the way that homes make you feel. I think it's the emotion. We're quite sort of emotional beings, and the connections and the entertainment of the house and how it's used. And I think it was just one of those things that you kind of just get hooked, and it's quite a natural, effortless kind of thing. And that's sort of where it all kind of started, and it's still like that now, really. That
background that you mentioned with your mother being in the more styling side of things and having that attraction, I guess that leads quite well into that prestige market that you're so active in down in the Bayside area. So what are some of the perhaps we have a lot of clients and listeners who aren't necessarily Melbourne based. So what are some of the key features that you talk about with people that define the prestige market in the Bayside areas, and how does that differ, do you think, compared to, say, some of the other areas around Melbourne, the Toorak's or the Burundara type locations?
Oh, it's so interesting. And the more I drive around, the more I notice the differences. I mean, in Brighton and the Bayside area, there is just such a mixture of styles, of the land sizes, of what is considered by the general market as A grade or B grade, or anywhere in the middle. You go to a Toorak, for example, and some of the most incredible, most renowned rows, they're just basically blooming with great estates, huge amounts of land, unbelievable builds, and there's just a real aura of wealth and prestige has kind of lining those streets. I find in Brighton in particular, one street can be obviously very lovely and have some lovely period homes, but a lot of them haven't been really renovated. And then the next row can have some beautiful brand new builds and have a more luxurious feel. So it's just quite scattered and quite inconsistent, I find, in Brighton. So if you actually look over the sort of the number of transactions over let's say the space of a year, you'll see some really beautiful ones. But the majority are properties that need quite a lot of work or land to build and things like that. So we've got huge divisions from the top to the bottom, I suppose. I find that there's a bit more development going on to the point where there are some beautiful new houses coming on. It's just obviously a lot slower now, but there's just really not a lot of option for people to choose from. But again, it's that A grade stuff. It's top end. There's a luxuriousness to it. I associate a high standard as well, and it connects with those that really want the nicer things in life. And it all kind of comes together with, we want the great school and we want the beautiful home and and we want the kids to love the garden and to have a great pool, and we want a beautiful kitchen, and everyone kind of interconnects with the way that they live and they work, and it's all at a high level.
Yep. So given that different, like you mentioned, the different types of properties, and it does have more of an almost an old world feel in some of the parts of Toorak, where it does have a bit more of a modern influence, I think, down the Bayside areas.
Yeah, it does.
What is there a different type of buyer profile in those two type of areas?
Yeah, I find that there's a portion of the market where there's a little bit of a consistency. I mean, I just sold a house the other day to a family that were dead set on Toorak.
Yep.
But Brighton actually showcased more value for a contemporary home with a basement compared to what they'd been trying to buy over in Toorak. So that was in that sort of $7 million price bracket.
Yep.
But then when you get up to the upper echelons, there is definitely more of a purely Toorak buyer versus a purely Brighton buyer. There's a big, I suppose, a big focus on those that are always upgrading in Brighton, who are going from, let's say, the $5 million house up to the 8 up to the 12. So it's kind of constantly climbing the Brighton ladder and always staying in Brighton.
Yep.
So that's quite a big deal.
And is that a geographical thing too? Is it in terms of where they want to be?
It is where they want to be. I find that, the kids go through school, everyone gets entrenched in Brighton. We're spoilt with beautiful shopping precincts. The transport's great. The water is there. And we're so connected to great suburbs like Elwood and Sandringham and things like that. And, you kind of got everything that you need. But I find that people do find it a challenge to leave Brighton unless it's for a very particular purpose. Some people get to the end of Brighton and go, look, we've done it for decades. I'd like to try an Albert Park and downsize, or a South Yarra. But that mainly family market, they tend to get quite hooked because of the lifestyle that it offers them here. So I find that people are always kind of moving around. I'm dealing with the same buyers quite a lot, or people that they know.
Yep.
And it's like, I know people here, they speak so highly of it. The kids go to this school, let's go to that school. So it is rather, just a rather sort of connected community type sort of movement, I suppose, with real estate buying here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, given that we've had such a significant impact in property, not necessarily from a negative perspective, during the COVID period, how did you find it down Bayside Way during the pandemic? If you just want to give us a bit of an overview from start of 2020 through till towards the end of, the start of last year, I guess.
Yeah, I actually found it, considering how negative the energy was in terms of the living situation and the chill in that. There was a serious buoyancy in that upper end, because those that obviously had access to funds, had the means to do things, and even if they didn't, had the real desire to make a change, people had to try and find something exciting and new for themselves, because if it wasn't work, or if it wasn't travel or whatever it was, we need a really great house. We want the kids to stay with us. We want to make the most of our lives. We want something newer, more modern, better quality. We want more land, because we're obviously quite compact in the way that we're living at the moment. So we were transacting some properties, to be honest, more than we'd ever had before. Right. In the 7s and 8s and 12s and 13s and all that sort of thing. And people weren't afraid to pay the right sort of money for it. And the vendors, I think at the same time, had gotten a little bit sick of their properties, and wanted to cash out. So it was quite a tremendous period actually for us.
There was a lot of that want to upgrade, is almost that, as you said before, that I can't go away on holidays, I can't leave Melbourne. So if I'm going to have to spend this amount of time at home, I may as well improve the house. And because there was extra savings involved, there was an ability to be able to do that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you find that experience from your end with the buying side?
Yeah, we definitely saw that in the buying side. It was very hit and miss to start with. We was talking to one of the a prospective client last week, and the discussion was very much at the start of the pandemic. Everyone sort of sat back and said, right, I'm not doing anything. I want to see what's going on, because it was such an unusual experience. But then by the time we got to say the middle of the year in 2020, people could see that this wasn't going away anytime soon, and that they needed to be prepared to do things. So people all of a sudden started to get out into the marketplace, and then the market took off. And so then we started to have a few clients say, well, I'm going to sit back and wait because the market's too hot at the moment. And I guess so we're as you know, we're typically more active in the investment space. So there's a lot more susceptibility to confidence, whereas sometimes in that prestige space, it's its own little world.
Oh, it's so emotional. I mean, we came out of that 2020 lockdown, and we sold a few houses off market between sort of that October and Christmas time. Those that went on market flew. And we were just moving one buyer to the next property, and just that emotional, passionate, like, I need something new, and I'm excited about that. And it was actually really enjoyable to do that. And we were obviously getting great results and prices for our vendors, as we always do anyway. But it was kind of like people are going, I'm happy to spend more because I really, really want this place, and I can see the value in it and the quality. And the good news is obviously if you're buying in great spots and you're buying great real estate, you can't lose. So it was a win-win for everyone. So you just sort of rode that wave.
Yeah. So I guess coming back to my point before, where I said that we were a little bit more up and down, and I guess that the confidence played a bigger part. Interest rates have certainly had a fairly significant impact on that sector of the market as well. Have they had much of an impact in that prestige market down your way?
Yeah, look, it has. I suppose what I'm noticing is the number of perceivably genuine conversations with prospective buyers that we had are now just dissipating into a lower level of genuine parties, because everyone's clearly really just delving into finding better value all the time, lower prices, scared of paying too much, and going, look, I don't have to buy, I don't need to do anything. I found that the conversations used to be a lot stronger with more people before the interest rates were effective, because there was just a slight less sort of limitation put on you. So one minute you think you've got 3 or 4 buyers on a house, and you kind of go through all the motions, and then it dwindles down to 1. And even that one buyer needs so much encouragement and so much reassurance to get them over the line. In fairness to them, I completely understand it, but it's a very hard read for an agent and a vendor for a campaign with some of these properties.
Yeah. So the demand levels have been dropping then?
They have been dropping.
Yeah.
They have been dropping. Absolutely, for sure. And that's the thing, the last few deals that we've done, we have managed to find the ideal buyer for it, but it has taken time. And if it hasn't taken time, it's taken a lot of energy and a lot of work with that buyer to get them over the line.
Yeah, okay.
And to bring it all together. So, I mean, I thrive and absolutely love doing it that way. But, it's obviously, great for your vendors and great for the agents if you have a few people to work with and it's got some flow to it. Whereas at the moment, it really doesn't. So for Anna and I here at Fredman, it's a matter of really getting to understand as best as possible those that we're dealing with on a buying perspective, working out exactly what their criteria is, what is actually important versus not important, real budget, not sort of aspirational, real budgets, and trying to connect them with the right houses.
So when you talk about the demand that is there at the moment, what are you seeing most of? Are you seeing a lot of upsizes, downsizes? Is it people wanting to renovate? What are you seeing? Because I know the renovation market dropped off pretty significantly for a while. They're just due to difficulty in getting access to builders, but also the cost and things. What type of buyers are you seeing?
The renovation market has actually picked up in the last couple of months.
Yeah, right.
We've had some properties that have been, they have some beauty to them, but they need a hell of a lot of work. And we've actually been attracting quite a good market for them. However, where they position their perception of price is a lot lower than where we were hoping.
Yes.
Because again, it's the matter of how much of the material is going to cost and my time and interest and all that sort of stuff. So when you thought, for example, that your land value was at 8, people can spend $1 million doing the work. We're getting offers in the mid 6s or high 6s or even 7 if you're lucky, and that works up to the $10 million price point as well. But that definitely, there's a volume that is higher on those that want to renovate, which is really good to see because that really fell off for a while. So it's great that people are kind of getting that passion to renovate. The most obvious buoyancy is in the ready to move in, finished, got a good land component, good garaging, that sort of stuff. And people are really excited for those houses. It just saves them the effort to do it. So that's still obviously steaming ahead. But also people looking to build brand new. We've had some people with budgets up to 20 wanting land. Okay. But again, they're actually, some of them are coming from the Toorak area. Some of them are coming from
that value for money, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, value for money. I reckon on the land value, you don't really get much bang for your buck there. In comparison, we actually look all right, So,
and are the developers around? So you're in terms of not just say apartments, but townhouses, or even those that are looking to just build the single dwelling to then sell off at some stage.
Yeah, there actually are. There are a few. There's been a couple of lovely properties that have been bought by a developer or a builder, and they're looking to flip those houses and even some townies. So it's actually picked up for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And so what are your expectations for the year ahead, for the balance of 23?
I really think it's just going to continue on a supply versus demand basis. If the amount of listings pick up, I feel that hopefully the number of buyers, I think, will pick up as well. A little bit more of a selection for everyone. I think in that case, if we do see some more stock, the prices will continue to waver a little bit. If the stock sort of remains quite low like it has been, buyer demand, I think in any case, is going to be growing and growing. I can sense this buoyancy. The inquiry's been up, especially at the top end. There are people wanting to act and actually making offers on properties genuinely. So I feel like that's going to progress during the year. I'm just really interested to see what kind of stock comes on the market. But I think it's going to be quite exciting. Just when people say, it's probably going to drop off, and buyers are saying to me, I'm waiting, and I'm thinking, look, the odd thing is going to sell in your eyes quite cheaply, the odd one, because of some compromise that it has that's quite obvious to the general market. But anything that is desirable is still holding really strong. We've got a couple of houses off market at the moment where we've got offers that are at least 10% above market value in our opinion. And we've only had 2 or 3 buyers through the house. Okay. So it's really interesting. So I'm actually quite excited for it myself.
It certainly feels better, I think, this year than the way things finished prior to Christmas. There just seems to be a bit more momentum. It's not to say that prices are jumping or anything like that, but there just seems to be a bit more activity and a bit more momentum around.
Oh, absolutely. The last, that sort of last 5 or 6 months of last year compared to the first 6 was complete polar opposites, and a really, tricky transition for an agent and for a vendor. Just when you thought you were selling a house, everyone drops off completely, and then you had no buyers. And that was really, really interesting. And everyone just wanted to get to Christmas and just go, look, we're knackered. We've had enough. I could definitely tell the buyers were just so fatigued, so confused, wanting to reset. And I kept saying to everyone, everyone just needs a rest sometimes. You burn out with this stuff. The agents burn out, the vendors burn out, the buyers burn out. And it's like, look, just give us the Christmas, give us some good weather, and then you come back and bang, And we sold a few actually relatively quickly compared to the last 6 months in that sort of Feb month. And we're like, look, everyone's back a bit. Everyone's back. So as long as that energy continues, we should be fine. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, well, that's about it for today. Joel, I really appreciate you giving us some time, and that'll be some great insights for our listeners to understand particularly what's happening in the prestige market around the Bayside areas, but also in comparison to others. So thank you very much for making some time.
Oh, mate, absolute pleasure, and really, really enjoy talking to you. And every time we do talk about real estate, it's just there's so much passion in there. And we all want to do a great job for our vendors. So well done with providing great intel. It's really good, mate.
Thanks, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
So thanks very much for joining Joel and I today for episode 49 of the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. As always, please feel free to share the podcast far and wide with family, friends and colleagues and anyone who may have an interest in property. If you would like further information on how to make rewarding property decisions, as always, please visit our website, wakeland.com.au. And if you'd like more info on Joel and his business, his company website is fredman.com.au. And as always, we wish you all the best with your property decisions.